The market has a way of speaking to the nerves more than to the reason. It knows how to stir blood faster than whiskey and how to make men abandon judgment in favor of impulse. Nothing stirs that frenzy more than the sight of prices climbing swiftly, point after point, like a rocket rising against the night sky. The tape flashes green, and the crowd begins to buzz with urgency, as though a secret has been revealed only to them. But the truth is simpler and crueler. The market thrives on excitement, and excitement is where most men lose their money. A rally appears often without warning, and at first it seems innocent enough. Just a few upticks, a bit of volume stirring under the surface, like a current forming beneath a calm river. But soon it swells into something larger, irresistible to the untrained eye. Traders who moments before were cautious suddenly feel their restraint dissolving. They imagine themselves being left behind, watching others reap profits while they stand idle. The fear of missing out blinds them to the fact that this very fear is being manipulated. It is not an accident that rallies emerge when they do. It is the design of markets to draw in the greedy and the anxious, to trap them with visions of easy money. The trap of excitement works because it feeds on two of the oldest instincts in human nature: envy and fear. Envy of the man who bought earlier, who now seems cleverer, braver, richer. Fear that if one does not act now, in this very moment, the opportunity will vanish forever. These instincts drive men to act when they should be still, to buy when they should be studying, and to risk when they should be conserving. The market has ruined more men through these two emotions than through any calculation of price or interest. It is a mistake to believe that the first burst of a rally represents an opportunity. More often it represents bait. Professionals know this. They have seen countless rallies flame up and die down just as quickly, leaving nothing but ashes for those who chased them. They know that the public has a taste for excitement and that nothing excites more than the appearance of sudden wealth being made. The public rushes in, volume swells, and for a brief time the rally appears strong. But it is strength born of weak hands. When the professionals begin to sell into that enthusiasm, the rally collapses, and those who bought in the heat of excitement are left bewildered, wondering how what looked so promising could have turned so sour. There is a rhythm to these traps. They do not come by chance. Every rally has its promoters, the eager brokers whispering to their clients, the newspapers hinting at new money flowing in, the neighbor bragging of his quick profit. Each voice adds fuel to the fire, convincing the cautious man that he alone is being left behind. This is how the market conquers judgment, by making the rational man feel foolish for standing aside. And when at last he cannot resist any longer, when he places his order and buys into the rally, he does so at precisely the moment of greatest danger. He is not the first in, he is the last. The psychology of the trap lies in its pace. A true trend, born of genuine forces in supply and demand, builds slowly and sustains itself with natural corrections along the way. But a false rally, one designed to lure the unwary, burns too hot too quickly. It creates urgency rather than conviction. The tape races faster, the chatter grows louder, and the speculator's heart beats quicker. In that rising tempo lies the signal of danger. A man trained to listen will recognize it, but most do not listen. They chase. The danger of excitement is not limited to novices. Even the experienced trader feels its pull. Years of discipline can be undone in a moment of weakness, when the crowd seems to be marching in lockstep toward profit. The mind begins to rationalize. Perhaps this time is different. Perhaps the move is real. Perhaps standing aside is more dangerous than joining in. Such thoughts are poison, because they disguise themselves as reason while being born of emotion. The market demands detachment, yet excitement ensures attachment. It ties the trader's judgment to the movements of the crowd, and once tied, he is no longer free. Consider the man who enters a rally late. He buys at the top, not because the tape confirms strength, but because his nerves cannot endure watching others profit. He tells himself he will sell quickly if the rally falters. But rallies built on excitement do not give such courtesy. They turn sharply, leaving no time for orderly exits. What looked like a small loss becomes a larger one. and the man finds himself trapped by his own emotions, forced to sell at a point that guarantees injury. He entered because he feared missing out, and he exited because he feared losing everything. In both cases, fear ruled him, and the market collected its due. The trap of excitement also blinds the trader to the larger picture. A rally is rarely an isolated event. It is part of a greater cycle. Those who study the cycle see that a rally can be nothing more than a rebound in a declining market, a last gasp before another fall. But to the man caught up in excitement, the rally seems like a reversal, the birth of a new bull market. He sees in it what he wishes to see, not what is truly there. The market does not reward wishful thinking. It punishes it with precision. Patience, though dull and unglamorous, is the true antidote to excitement. The man who trains himself to watch a rally without chasing it, to measure its strength against the larger trend, to wait for confirmation before acting. Such a man is safe from the trap. But patience is a hard teacher, and excitement an easy seducer. Most men will fall for the latter time and again, until their capital is gone and their lessons are learned too late. The market will always provide rallies to chase. That is its nature. There will never be a shortage of sudden bursts, nor of stories promising that this time it's different. But the trader who survives is the one who remembers that excitement is not opportunity. Excitement is a signal, but it is a warning signal. It tells the wise man to hold his ground, to watch carefully, to let others be caught in the trap. In that restraint lies safety, and in that safety lies the chance for true profit when the genuine move finally comes. In speculation, price alone is not enough. Movement without timing is like a ship without a compass, headed somewhere, but almost certainly not where you need it to go. Men who chase rallies often think that direction alone is sufficient. They see the market rising and assume that joining it, no matter when, will yield profit. But the market does not reward the careless. It rewards precision. Timing is not merely important in speculation. It is everything. The irony is that timing cannot be borrowed. A man may copy another's trade, but he cannot copy the exact moment of decision that gave birth to it. By the time he hears of the opportunity, by the time the story reaches his ears, the moment has already passed. Markets are built on such delays. The crowd always lags, arriving late to every move, eager to profit from a feast that has already been eaten. They convince themselves they are early, but the professionals know better. What the public sees as the beginning is usually the end. To understand timing, one must first understand the nature of price movement. A genuine move in the market does not appear in a single stroke. It builds like a tide swelling and receding, but always pressing in one direction. There are pullbacks and hesitations, false starts and minor reversals, yet the underlying trend continues. The tape whispers the truth of this movement, but only to the ear trained to listen. The untrained ear hears only noise, and noise, mistaken for signal, destroys accounts faster than any storm. Consider the man who acts too soon. He sees the first glimmer of a rally, a slight uptick in price, and believes he has caught the start of something grand. But often, the first move is nothing but a feint, designed to test conviction. The market pushes forward, then abruptly reverses, shaking out those who were too eager. The man who mistook a spark for a fire is left holding a loss. Acting too soon is as dangerous as acting too late. In both cases, timing has betrayed him. Now consider the man who acts too late. He waits until the rally is fully visible, until it has drawn the crowd's attention and become the talk of brokers' offices. By then, the professionals who bought earlier are already preparing to sell. The latecomer buys from them at a premium, convinced he has discovered opportunity, when in truth he has purchased the burden of their profits. The rally, having run its course, turns, and he becomes the exit for someone else's gain. He arrived not at the beginning of a move, but at its exhaustion. The essence of timing lies in confirmation. A man must learn to wait until the market itself proves its intention. Prices do not move without cause, and genuine trends declare themselves with unmistakable signs. Volume increasing in harmony with price, reactions that fail to break previous lows, consolidations that strengthen rather than weaken. These signs are not revealed in the heat of the first surge, nor in the noise of the crowd's chatter. They are revealed in the quiet persistence of movement. A rally that sustains itself despite attempts to shake it is a rally worth respecting. A rally that collapses at the first test is nothing but a trap. Timing demands patience, but patience is rare. Most traders cannot endure the wait. They confuse inaction with weakness, as though standing aside were cowardice. Yet standing aside is often the mark of strength. To watch a rally unfold without chasing it, to wait for confirmation while others rush in, requires discipline. The undisciplined man buys simply because he sees prices rise. The disciplined man buys only when the market itself confirms that the move is real. One is gambling, the other is speculating. The difference lies in timing. The tape itself is the trader's clock. It records not only price, but tempo, a rally that moves with natural rhythm, advancing, pulling back, advancing again, shows strength. A rally that races without pause often exhausts itself quickly. Timing requires not only the recognition of direction, but the recognition of pace. Too slow, and the rally may die of stagnation. Too fast, and it may burn itself out. But when the tempo is balanced, when each pause builds into the next advance, the trader can act with confidence. There is also timing within timing, the art of pyramiding. A trader may begin with a small line, testing the move, waiting for the market to prove him right. When the rally confirms itself, he adds, building his position as the trend develops. He does not plunge in all at once, nor does he scatter his capital across every move. He times each addition carefully, placing more only when the market itself pays for it. In this way, his profits finance his risk, and his timing transforms a small beginning into a large reward. But the greatest challenge of timing lies not in entering, but in exiting. Most men do not know when to let go. They watch their profits grow, and greed whispers that the rally will continue forever. They watch their losses grow, and hope whispers that the rally will return. In both cases, they ignore the tape's warning signals, and their timing dissolves into wishful thinking. The professional, however, knows that exit is as vital as entry. He takes profits when the market tells him to, not when his emotions do. He cuts losses the same way, without hesitation, because he knows that timing delayed is timing destroyed. Timing is everything because the market itself is time. Each tick of the tape is a heartbeat, each swing a cycle, each trend a season. The trader who aligns himself with this rhythm prospers, while the one who fights it perishes. Fortune does not come to those who chase blindly. It comes to those who wait, observe, and strike when the market itself declares the moment. The trap is not in missing a rally. The trap is in believing that every rally must be caught. The truth is harsher and simpler. Only the right rally, caught at the right time, builds a fortune. The market is a stage where two actors play their roles endlessly, the crowd and the tape. The crowd speaks in shouts, in rumors, in hurried glances exchanged in brokers' offices, in the chatter of men eager to be part of something. The tape, on the other hand, speaks in whispers, steady, unemotional, indifferent to excitement. To the untrained ear, the noise of the crowd is louder and more persuasive. But to the speculator who endures, the tape is the only voice worth listening to. It alone tells the truth. The crowd is always late. By the time the crowd notices a rally, it is already well underway, and by the time the crowd notices a decline, the damage has already been done. The crowd buys when prices are highest and sells when prices are lowest, not because it chooses these moments, but because it cannot help itself. Human nature is designed to move with the herd, to seek safety in numbers, to do what others are doing. But in the market, safety in numbers is an illusion. The crowd is rarely safe, it is usually wrong. The tape has no emotion, no envy, no fear of missing out. It records only fact. A stock opens at one price, trades at another, closes higher or lower. And in that progression lies the entire story. The crowd may interpret these movements with 100 explanations. News reports, political gossip, whispered tips. But the tape requires no explanation. It is what it is, and yet most traders ignore it. They prefer the comfort of stories told by the crowd, even though those stories almost always lead them astray. The danger of following the crowd lies in its blindness. The crowd sees what it wants to see, not what truly exists. When prices rise, the crowd sees strength, even if the rise is built on nothing but speculation. When prices fall, the crowd sees weakness, even if the fall is nothing more than a temporary correction. The tape, however, reveals the difference. A rally built on genuine demand shows itself in sustained volume, in orderly reactions, in a progression of higher lows and higher highs. A rally built on crowd enthusiasm collapses quickly once the excitement fades. But the crowd never waits long enough to notice. It acts, and in acting it loses. The crowd is also a prisoner of hope and fear. Hope keeps it buying long after the tape signals exhaustion. Fear keeps it selling long after the tape signals recovery. This cycle of hope and fear is as old as markets themselves. Every generation of traders experiences it, and every generation convinces itself that this time is different. But the tape never changes its language. It rewards those who read it correctly and punishes those who ignore it. Imagine a man sitting in a broker's office surrounded by the hum of conversation. Prices flash on the board, and the crowd leans forward eagerly. A rally begins and whispers spread. This is the move we've been waiting for. The man feels the pressure of their excitement. He feels foolish for sitting idle while others are placing orders. The crowd's enthusiasm becomes a weight upon his mind, urging him to act. But if he turns his attention to the tape, he sees the truth. He sees volume failing to confirm the rise. He sees reactions deeper than they should be. He sees irregularities that betray weakness. The crowd cannot see these things, blinded by its own desire. But the tape speaks clearly. The move is false. If the man listens to the crowd, he loses. If he listens to the tape, he survives. The tape also exposes the intentions of professionals, while the crowd interprets their maneuvers as chance. When professionals distribute stock, they do it during rallies, selling into strength. The crowd sees the rise and mistakes it for opportunity, buying eagerly. When professionals accumulate, they do it during weakness, buying quietly while the crowd sells in panic. The tape reveals these actions through subtle signs, volume swelling on down days without breaking to new lows, or prices firming after every decline. The crowd interprets these moments as danger, but the tape whispers that strength is building. The man who follows the crowd sells to the professional. The man who follows the tape buys alongside him. The difference between the crowd and the tape is the difference between noise and signal. Noise is persuasive because it appeals to emotion. Signal is persuasive only to discipline. The crowd's arguments sound logical in the moment because they confirm what men already feel: fear, greed, envy. The tape requires detachment, the ability to set aside what one feels in favor of what one sees. Most men cannot do this. They want the market to agree with them rather than to see the market as it is. That is why the crowd will always exist, and why the tape will always remain the true guide. There is also vanity in the crowd. Men do not like to be alone in their judgments. They feel safer being wrong with many than being right by themselves. If the crowd is buying, a man feels reassured that he is not a fool. If the crowd is selling, he feels that his fear is justified. But the speculator who prospers must learn the opposite. He must accept being alone, being ridiculed, being doubted. He must trust the tape, even when it contradicts the voices around him. That loneliness is the price of independence, and independence is the price of profit. One of the cruelest tricks of the market is that the crowd is sometimes right, at least for a moment. Their enthusiasm may drive prices higher, and their panic may drive prices lower. For a short time, it looks as if they know what they are doing, but the tape tells whether their movement is genuine or fleeting. If their buying is not supported by strong demand, the rise will collapse. If their selling is not met by true weakness, the fall will reverse. The crowd mistakes momentum for strength and panic for weakness. The tape distinguishes between the two. The great fortunes in the market are not built by following the crowd. They are built by following the tape. A man who studies the tape learns to recognize the difference between temporary rallies and genuine trends between shallow declines and true weakness. He learns that the crowd's enthusiasm is a warning, not an opportunity. He learns that the tape's whisper is more reliable than the crowd's shout, and he learns that in speculation, survival depends not on popularity but on discipline. The crowd and the tape will always be at odds. One is emotion, the other is fact. One is noise, the other is truth. One is the ruin of most, the other the salvation of a few. The speculator must choose which to follow, and his choice will determine his fate. The market is a battlefield, and every trader who enters it comes armed with something, some with knowledge, some with luck, most with nothing but hope. But among all the weapons a speculator may carry, none is sharper, none is deadlier, none is more difficult to wield than patience. It is not the kind of weapon that dazzles in the moment, not the kind that makes a man feel bold or daring. It is quiet, it is slow, and for most men it is unbearable. Yet patience alone has destroyed more opponents and preserved more fortunes than all the frantic buying and selling that ever cluttered the tape. Men mistake patience for passivity, as though waiting were doing nothing. But in speculation, waiting is not nothing. It is everything. The market spends more time preparing for great moves than it does actually making them. It feints, it tests, it deceives, and in those moments the impatient man reveals himself. He jumps at shadows, buying into every rally, shorting every decline, unable to resist the urge to be constantly active. His money trickles away, lost not in one great blow but in 1,000 small cuts. The patient man, meanwhile, waits. He watches the same movements, feels the same temptations, but he does not act until the market itself proves worthy of action. His inactivity is not weakness, it is strength held in reserve. Consider how the market treats the impatient. A rally begins, and the impatient man cannot bear the thought of being left behind. He buys hoping to ride the move. The market rises a little more, then turns against him, forcing him out with a loss. Moments later, another rally appears. He buys again, this time convinced he has learned. From the first, again the market turns. By the end of the week, his account is thinner, his confidence weaker, his nerves more frayed. He has fought battles every day, but he has won none. The market thrives on such men. Their impatience feeds it like grain to a mill. Now watch the patient trader. He sees the same rallies, hears the same noise from the crowd, feels the same fear of missing out. But he does not act. He waits for confirmation, for proof that the rally is not just excitement but substance. He knows the market is not a series of single opportunities, but a procession of them. If one passes, another will come. His money sits idle, but it is not wasted, it is preserved. And when at last the genuine move emerges, when the tape confirms that strength is real, he strikes. His patience has armed him, while the impatience of others has disarmed them. Patience is also protection against the most dangerous of enemies, oneself. A trader's greatest adversary is not the market, nor the professionals, nor even the crowd. It is his own emotions. Impatience is born from fear and greed. The fear of being left behind, the greed of wanting every dollar of every move. These emotions press constantly against a man's judgment, whispering that he must act now or never. Patience silences those whispers. It forces a man to hold back, to doubt his own impulses, to let reason rule over excitement. Without patience, even the cleverest strategy becomes ruin. With patience, even an average strategy can prosper. The true power of patience is seen not only in entering trades, but in holding them. Most traders cannot sit still once they have a profit. They fear the market will take it back, so they snatch at small gains, never letting their positions grow into something meaningful. They rob themselves of fortune because they cannot wait. The patient trader does the opposite. Once he is sure of his position, he holds it. He endures the minor reactions, the pullbacks that shake out the weak, the corrections that test conviction. He knows that great profits require time, that the market does not move in straight lines, that even the strongest trend must pause to breathe. By sitting still when others cannot, he captures the full sweep of a move while they settle for crumbs. Patience also governs the art of cutting losses. The impatient man hesitates when he should act, hoping that a losing trade will turn in his favor, if only he waits a little longer. But this is not patience. True patience is knowing when to wait and when to act, and when a position proves itself wrong, the patient man acts quickly. He closes it without hesitation, not because he enjoys the loss, but because he respects the market's verdict. His patience lies in waiting for the next real opportunity, rather than clinging to a false one. In this way, patience is not a single virtue, but a balance of opposites, waiting long enough to let the right move come, yet acting decisively the moment it does. This balance is rare, for most men tilt too far one way or the other. Some act constantly, chasing every flicker of movement, exhausting themselves into poverty. Others hesitate endlessly, waiting for perfection that never arrives, letting real opportunities pass them by. True patience lies between these extremes. It is neither constant action nor constant hesitation. It is disciplined readiness. The crowd despises patience. It cannot understand it because the crowd thrives on excitement, on the thrill of constant motion. A man who waits is ridiculed, called timid, accused of being afraid. But when the dust settles, when the crowd has been stripped of its capital and sent home licking its wounds, the patient trader remains. His capital is intact, his judgment unshaken, his opportunity ahead of him. The crowd may laugh at him today, but tomorrow he will be the one taking their money. Patience requires solitude. It demands that a trader think for himself, act on his own conviction, and ignore the noise of others. Few men can bear this loneliness. They want to be part of the crowd, to share in its enthusiasm and its despair. But the patient man must often stand apart, waiting while others rush, holding while others sell, selling while others hope. His solitude is his shield. The crowd cannot touch him because he does not share its urgency. He moves only when the market moves on his terms, not when the crowd moves on its whims. Every great fortune in speculation has been built on patience, not on chasing every rally, not on guessing every turn, but on waiting for the one clear opportunity and pressing it when it came. It is not the number of trades that makes a man rich, but the quality of them. And quality is only found through patience. The market is a machine designed to test endurance, to exhaust those who cannot sit still, to strip away the capital of those who mistake activity for progress. Against such a machine, the only weapon is patience. It cuts silently, it kills slowly, and it spares no one who fails to respect it. Markets have changed their clothing many times over the decades, but beneath the fabric the body remains the same. In every era, new inventions arrive, new companies rise, new industries bloom, and with them come new crowds convinced that the rules no longer apply. They believe they are living in a unique age, that the forces of speculation have somehow been rewritten for their benefit, and that lessons of the past can be ignored as relics. Yet time proves otherwise. Every generation eventually learns the same hard truth: chasing rallies is a trap. Discipline is the only safeguard, and the warnings carved into history do not fade. They wait, patient and merciless, for those who forget. The enduring lesson is that excitement does not equal opportunity. The crowd cannot accept this because excitement feels real. It feels alive, convincing men that their moment has arrived. A rally erupts, prices leap forward, and the air grows thick with urgency. Friends talk of quick fortunes, papers print glowing reports, brokers nudge clients with confident whispers. The environment conspires to make inaction seem foolish. Yet history shows again and again that these very moments of greatest excitement are the most dangerous. What appears as an open door is often nothing more than a painted wall. The man who runs toward it collides with ruin. Every boom bears the same markings. At first, a handful of shrewd men position themselves quietly. They have studied the market, noted the cycles, and seen the signs of accumulation long before the crowd takes notice. Their buying is deliberate, careful, concealed beneath the ordinary noise of trading. Then momentum gathers, the public begins to notice, and whispers spread. This is when the professionals, who were early, prepare their escape. They distribute their holdings piece by piece, selling into the enthusiasm of the crowd. To the untrained eye, the rally looks strong. Volume is heavy, prices are high, and optimism is everywhere. But the truth, visible only to those who understand the tape, is that strength is leaving the market even as the public believes it is arriving. And when the selling is complete, when the professionals are safely out, the market collapses, leaving the latecomers trapped in loss. This cycle has repeated across centuries. It repeated in the days when railroads were the marvel of modernity, when men spoke of endless horizons of wealth. It repeated when steel and oil reshaped economies, when telephone wires stretched across continents, when automobiles roared into daily life. Each time, the crowd believed the old warnings no longer applied. Each time, they believed the future guaranteed profits, that chasing rallies could not possibly end in failure. And each time, the market proved indifferent to their optimism. Those who chased paid the price. Those who remembered discipline survived. The enduring lesson is not that one must avoid the market's opportunities, but that one must be selective. Not every rally is genuine, not every move is worth pursuing, and not every signal is to be trusted. The speculator's task is not to catch every wave, but to wait for the tide. This is where discipline separates winners from losers. The undisciplined man wants everything. He wants to profit from every rise, every dip, every flicker of movement. He spreads himself thin, exhausting his capital and his spirit. The disciplined man wants only the best. He waits for the clear move, the one confirmed by the tape, the one that aligns with the larger trend. He may make fewer trades, but each trade has weight. Over years, this difference is the line between a fortune and an empty account. What makes the lesson enduring is not only the repetition of mistakes, but the permanence of human nature. Technology may evolve, markets may grow larger, methods of communication may accelerate, but the emotions of fear and greed remain the same. Men still envy their neighbors' profits. They still fear being left behind. They still convince themselves that what has happened before cannot happen again. The tools change, but the impulses do not. And because impulses remain, so too do the traps. The patient trader accepts this reality. He does not imagine himself immune to excitement or temptation. He knows he is subject to the same emotions as every other man, but he builds his defense in discipline. He uses patience as a shield and timing as a sword. He studies the tape, not the gossip. He understands that survival depends not on brilliance but on endurance. The enduring lesson is not a secret formula or hidden code. It is the recognition that markets will always tempt, always deceive, always punish impatience, and always reward discipline. The crowd resists this truth because it is simple, and simplicity is not exciting. Men prefer complicated theories, elaborate systems, magical combinations of indicators. They believe sophistication will protect them, that the complexity of their method sets them apart from the herd. But sophistication without discipline is only another form of impatience. The market strips away illusions until only character remains. The man with patience, with restraint, with courage to do nothing when nothing should be done. That man alone endures. The rest are consumed in the endless churn of rallies and declines, ever chasing, never learning. The enduring lesson is also one of humility. No trader, no matter how skilled, can control the market. The market is larger than any man, larger than any institution, larger than any scheme. To imagine otherwise is folly. Discipline arises from humility, the recognition that one must follow the market, not command it. The man who chases rallies believes he is stronger than the market, that he can outpace its movements. The man who waits for confirmation knows he is weaker than the market, and so he aligns himself with its strength. Humility saves him where arrogance destroys others. In the end, the history of speculation is not a record of innovations, but a record of repeated mistakes. The faces change, the instruments change, the speed of trading changes, but the rhythm remains. Excitement rises, Rallies lure, crowds rush in, professionals step aside. Collapse follows, over and over. The lesson presents itself and over, most ignore it. Yet for the few who see, for the few who accept that human nature is constant and markets unforgiving, the lesson becomes a compass. It points not to every opportunity, but to the few that matter. And it reminds them that wealth in speculation is not won by chasing the crowd, but by standing apart from it, by waiting with patience, and by acting only when the market itself has spoken.